What is going on, YouTube fitness family? We have part 2 of this amazing video. Like I said, the guy that needs no introduction. I have one of my favorite people, Dr. Mike Israetel. He's very nice to have me in his amazing home gym here in Michigan. And if you guys have not visited here, it's super nice and relaxing and chill. It's very hot and humid, but also very...
The Michigan endorsement quickly fell off.
Literally, yeah, sorry, that Michigan commercial fucking fell flat really quick. But anywho, amazing company. Also, before hopping this video, if you guys are not already signed up, we are doing a seminar in Las Vegas, Nevada, the day before the Olympia. Me, Jared, Mike, we're gonna be going through some unique exercise variants, but also just having a shit ton of fun. You guys can have open gym workout. We'll come around, critique you. We're gonna have some food. We're gonna have some, bespoke Q&As. So it's gonna be amazing. Go check out the link. You can see all the details there. But sign up. Spots are going fast, and I'll look forward to seeing you there. But without further ado, we are going to do our chest, back, and shoulders list. Let's try to reel these off as fast as possible. I think, in all fairness, maybe I should lead with one of these.
Yes, of course.
I've been putting Mike on the spot. So let's go chest day for me. All right, so this is gonna be probably a little different than what you guys expect. No barbell pressing for me. I think what has really helped me grow my chest is finding movement patterns that create a ton of stimulus safely, because in college, I was so focused playing college football on what's my bench press? Like, how many times did I bench 315? What's my 1 rep max? And my chest wasn't really getting bigger, and I got injured on both sides. And it just showed me like, oh, this probably isn't the way to build like a bigger chest, because you're so worried about getting the weight from A to B. So what I've incorporated, and you guys have probably seen in so many other videos, is a lot more fly movements. So for me, one of my absolute staples is a really good machine fly with a crazy stretch. So this allows for a lot of bracing. You can obviously isolate the chest in a way that you usually can't, in my opinion, with pressing, because you're putting it on an island. As long as you can really keep the focus in the chest and not treat your flies like a throwaway exercise. We were talking about this in another video. A lot of people treat their flies as like icing on the cake or like refinement exercises after their heavy pressing. But if you have to treat your flies with the same amount of intensity that you would your presses, and you'll get just as much out of them, if not more. So for me, when I started to do more flies and really focus in that stretch position and milking that stretch position as much as possible and really focus on that eccentric load, like my chest started to absolutely explode. And I felt like my tissue was also getting healthier, because as I sat in these lengthened positions, I felt less pain, less shoulder pain, and actually more inert type of stimulus in my chest. So that's number 1 for me. Number 2 is gonna be some sort of like deeper machine press. So like what I mean by that is either if you have like a hammer strength that converges, that allows for a really big stretch, I think, or like a pin loaded press. I think you have a good one here. That allows for a lot of stretch. I feel like for me, that checks a lot of boxes, because first of all, you're not gonna be ego driven. Like, most people aren't like, what do you plate load press, or what do you pin load press? Like, nobody says that.
That would be a fun question. What?
So it's like, yeah, you've never been asked that, you'll never get asked that. So when you approach these exercises, a lot of times you're not focusing on that as much. You're focusing more on, okay, like, am I feeling my chest? Am I driving to failure? And with something like that, it's so controlled and so focused that you really rarely see people like, oh, I popped my pec on like a pin loaded chest press. Like, it's always bench press. It's always like incline barbell press, heavy ass dumbbell presses. So I think that also it allows for a tremendous amount of stretch. And even if I have one at a gym that's not as good, what I'll do is put like a half foam roller behind my back so that I can even dig deeper into that stretch position before driving out and through. I just feel like it's usually better for me than dumbbells, because of the fact that it's very controlled in this capacity, and I can stay almost over the weight is what I call it, instead of, let's say, an incline press, where I feel like sometimes my front delt's my limiting factor. If I'm here and I'm over it, I can really control it through the chest and feel like I get my failure through my chest instead of, let's say, triceps or front delt. And then my last exercise is gonna be another fly movement, but it's almost a slight variant where I have incline bench, on the cables, and it's basically a big stretch fly. So you're gonna start here, and then at the top of the rep, you reach back and open up as much as possible, and then drive through and squeeze through. And it's just like crazy range of motion, insane mind-muscle connection. I did EMG testing on it, and it was like through the roof. It tested higher than any other exercise I tested in terms of stimulatory response, which is testing for how much like neural drive are you getting from a specific exercise. And while it's not a perfect science, it kind of validated what I already knew about the exercise. So it wasn't like a throwaway exercise. I was like, oh, that's super surprising. Like, it was a staple for me that I was like, okay, this validates to a certain degree why this has been so effective for me. So if you wanted to check out that one, maybe I'll have Phil splice it in so you guys can see kind of what that one looks like, but that would be my 3.
Dope. Those are awesome. I would have a cambered bar flat bench press.
Very good option.
Because if you sink it in super low, it allows you to go around your chest and get a crazy deep stretch. It's also a barbell move, so it's nice and stable. Definitely slow on the eccentric, especially towards the bottom. Definitely pause for 1 or 2 seconds and don't blow up on the way up, just accelerate gently. Keep your risk of injury low. Next exercise I would use would be an incline dumbbell press. I'm not in love with the exercise, but it's an incline, and because it's dumbbells, you can go around. What I prefer is to touch the inside part of the dumbbell to my bicep, or the very deepest part of my delt here, such that I push my chest up and go really low. That gets an awesome, awesome stretch. You just can't get from a barbell, literally. You can get it from some really well-built machines, but those are tough to find. And then my last one would be the good old-fashioned dumbbell fly. The cool thing about the dumbbell fly is that at the very bottom, when you're stretched out, you have the highest force at the deepest stretch, which science has shown us is really good for growth. And at the very top, there is no force, so you don't have to piss away your energy focusing on a peak contraction that we know peak contraction doesn't matter as much for growth as that deep stretch. So for me, classic dumbbell fly, slow with a big open chest, pause at the bottom of it, as deep of a stretch as you can get. Man, it's tough to fuck with that.
Yeah, I think those are definitely like great options. I think it's just like small iterations. I think the camber bar is very similar to like the benefits of the machine.
Deep machine press,
Yeah,
100%.
Exactly.
Yep.
So, cool. All right, let's go to back next.
Back, do you first?
All right. I'm always going to start with some sort of like compound pull down. So, whatever grips I think most comfortable for you. Some people love like a lat pull down bar. I love like more of an ergonomic grip, like if you've ever heard like a mag grip, or like ones that kind of look like they have more of like the ergonomic handles, as opposed to like maybe like one of the more like kind of just ones you just wrap your hand around. I feel like it is a perfect exercise to scale your lats, specifically you're braced in. You don't have to worry about your lower back. You don't have to worry about, let's say for like example, like a pull-up, your limiting factor might be like you're not strong enough to like pull your body weight up with good control and then have good eccentric control and keep your chest open towards the ceiling and get good scapular retraction. Whereas with a pull down, you could start with 30 pounds and work on your form and get really good mind muscle connection. And I feel like just from a pure aesthetics perspective, if you can get a really good stretch at the top of like a pull down movement and then get a really good scapular retraction, it's like it's the best of all worlds, because you get that really big stretch bias where you're loading in the stretch position. You start to learn that mind muscle connection of pulling the scaps back, pushing the chest open towards the ceiling, not over leaning to the point where you lose contraction. And it's perfectly applicable for bodybuilding. Like that's literally how you hit a back double bicep, like at the bottom of your rep. If you have that same kind of form where your chest is toward the ceiling, shoulders are down and back, elbows are pushed forward, like to get as much your back opened up as possible. It's like almost how you would hit that movement. So for me, I think it's a tremendous way to build out your X-frame and get a ton of detail. Number 2 would be some sort of isolateral cable pulling from a low position. So for me, we talked about this. We actually did a whole video on my channel, also Mike's channel, talking about how to maximize stimulus with minimizing injury risk and fatigue. So for me, I always talk about I want the failure point to come from my target muscle group. So I feel like isolateral pulling allows for a lot of ergonomics, meaning I can move I can shift with the movement to what feels really good for me, where I can feel that good mind muscle connection. I can get a tremendous amount of stretch. And since I'm loading one hand at a time, it doesn't really have that problem of like being super CNS taxing or being a higher injury risk. Cause like, let's say I have 140 in one hand. Let's say if I had dual, but I also have the ability to brace through a bar and I'm doing like 300 pounds or 330 pounds, like obviously there's gonna be a higher risk of injury, a higher CNS tax. So for me, I really love that idea of isolateral pulling in the sense of gets a really good stimulus, really good stretch bias, uses a ton of ergonomics, and I can kind of move from one side to the other without feeling like crazy taxed, and it allows me to increase volume. And number 3, I think would be some sort of chest supported row, whether it be if you have a really good machine where you can get a really good like turtle shell and squeeze back, retract scaps, and get like a really good compound pull. Because what's really nice about the pad is it allows you to stretch safely and get crazy like rounding, and that, as we know with hypertrophy, loading in that stretch position is extremely efficacious. So as opposed to, let's say, a barbell row, where if you really try to like milk a stretch, a lot of times your lower back, your core is might be your limiting factor of like what fails first. Whereas with this, if you've got it bench supported, like your limiting factor is usually going to be the target muscle group. In this case, like your spinal erectors, your lats, really like that kind of density of your mid back through to the X frame. So for me, I think it's, even if you have a plate loaded, chest supported, or if you, in a video I just did with Mike, I showed him a variant where I use a rope and an incline on the cable. I think that's probably my favorite. It takes a little bit more setup, a little bit more doing. So might not be for everybody, but those are my 3.
I love it. That's fucking awesome. Neutral grip pull up. I almost said the wrong thing. Neutral grip pull up. Neutral because you can keep your elbows flush and really hit your lats. Get your chin up to the bar and then control that eccentric all the way for a full stretch and let your scapula relax. I think that's a fucking great start. The cable lat prayer, which is a pullover with a cable. I'll just do this. But make sure that at the very time when your arms are up here, your chest is down to get an even bigger stretch. You want maximum stretch here. And at the very top, the cable should be 90 degrees to your forearm, so you have the most tension in that stretch position. And then as you come up, just rise up a little bit to clear your face. Don't rise up to get that peak contraction for the back, because I don't think it's worth a ton. So this part here should be pretty easy. This part here should be hard as fuck. Slow on the way up, pause for a second, and then come back down. Dealer's choice on what kind of grips. The rope is cool. I like a straight bar, no wrong answers there. And then the last exercise I would prefer is the cable flexion row. You tried some earlier in our shooting, and you just basically have a cable row set up where you're able to completely round over at the top, relaxing everything, and then arch up, crunch your whole back together, like you were saying on the pull down, and then touch really quick to your belly and come back down. Those things annihilate your entire back, low back, mid back, upper back, the whole fucking thing, lats,
like rhomboids,
everything,
all the way, rear delts all the way down to like spinal
to your
erectors.
fucking ass. And it's like, it's a trippy exercise. Not very popular. Most people don't flex their spine under load because we got scared because it was gonna fuck us up. It's a great exercise. Try it. Higher reps, lower weight, full dynamic range, and make sure not to do anything crazy explosive. Slow, pause, and then accelerate, and I think you're fucking good to go.
Yeah, I think that's a tremendous list. And like another, we've talked about this before, like people treat their pull, like his number 2 as a pullover, like a fucking throwaway exercise. Like treat your pullover movement like any other pulling movement. Like you have to drive close to failure, if not to failure. You have to use enough weight, but that's a pullover is one I see people like doing just like this, just like, it's like what are you doing? Like just stop wasting, like anytime you're just doing a movement because you think it's like a refinement movement or like something you should be doing at the end of your workout, like unless you're putting very inert effort into the exercise itself, like you might as well not be doing it. If you're not pushing it close to failure, like you're not building muscle, there's no such thing as refinement. So I think it's a great list. Pullovers were so close to being on there for me, but I only had 3. All right, last one, we got delts. And so delts, this one's gonna be pretty easy for me. I'm gonna do heavy barbell pressing, heavy dumbbell pressing, and wall walks. Totally
What's a
kidding.
wah-wah?
That's where you like CrossFit. Where you
Oh,
walk
yeah,
up
that's great.
no,
This is an odd list.
yeah, no. So as you know, with me, I'm like a very big like raise variant, just because I think it's been proven a lot of times over and over again that you're gonna get a lot more acute stimulus from raising than pressing. Not to say that pressing doesn't have its place, like a really good shoulder press or a machine press or it's like a hammer strength press can be like a really efficacious exercise. But what I want to do is really build out that really medial delt and to a certain degree front delt. I feel like personally I get so much rear delt from how much range of motion I use in my back movements that I really don't have to isolate them with like one of like these, like, you know, it's just, I don't feel like I'm getting that much out of it. Whereas if I'm doing a super heavy compound pull and I feel that crazy stretch to my rear delt, like my rear delts are wild as is, and I don't, people always ask, what do you do for your rear delts? I'm like, I really don't hit them inertly just because I get so much out of my back. So what my focus is going to be medial delt and front delt. Medial delt for me is going to build out the aesthetic as much as, more so than the front delt. And also you get front delt from your pressing movements, from your fly movements. So for me, for medial delts, king is going to be some sort of incline or lying cable, like basically Y raise. So you're going to be either here, you can use cuffs, you can use handles. We're going to raise here, squeeze, and then as slow as you can down and through. That's going to be one that's very low injury risk. It's very isolated to your medial delt. The second one is going to be a isolated behind the back lateral raise. So I like to lean out, use a cuff with a cable. I'm going to put the cable basically on mid height. So when I come behind, that stretch through that medial delt is so intense that I'm maximizing load there. And then when I come up, I'm squeezing. And then since I'm leaned out slightly, I can almost reach back behind myself and get even more stretch to the medial delt and a ton of focus without having to use a shit ton of weight. So stimulus is high, fatigue is generally low, the burn is very acute. And so that's number 2 for me. And number 3, I'm gonna throw in one front delt exercise that I love a ton, so I use it all the time, is going to be a lying, basically rope raise. So I'm gonna lie back. You can use a bar, like a fixed bar for this as well as cables. So you can use it on the floor, you can go on a seat, like on the seated row portion. And what I like to do is turn the hands towards the floor, slight elbow bend, and then I raise about to just overhead, and then I go as slow down as I possibly can, pushing those hands down towards the floor, which is going to push the emphasis into my front delt. I get a ton of stretch at the bottom of the rep, and then I drive up and through. Can't use momentum. Core is not my limiting factor. If, like, let's say I'm using a barbell and I'm swinging it in front, like eventually you're going to start to get taxed because you're getting constantly pulled forward with this. That vector of force is coming from the floor, from straight in front of you. And so it's going to give you the ability to have that same force curve without having the downside of having to balance and having bracing be your limiting factor.
Those are good exercises, man. You stole one from me.
That's how it happens. It happens when you let me lead.
I replaced it. Number 1 for me is the cable side lateral, but to roughly hip height. So you can pull out and a little up, and you put the cable in here, you turn your body parallel to it or even a little bit away. Crazy stretch, especially on that side delt. Go from there. Another one I really like is the machine lateral raise, but not everything is made the same. The Atlantis machine lateral raise you can do through a super range of motion or just normal. And it's the same tension at every part of the curve, which is sweet because with dumbbell laterals, like here it's nothing, here it's a lot. So that fucks really well. And then I would say there's lots of options for number 3. The behind the back situation I use all the time. But I'd say something to give a shot to is the Super ROM dumbbell lateral raise. It's not some kind of magical movement. Fuck, goddamn, it's effective because most people, they stop their laterals here. And if you keep going all the way up to here and then ride that eccentric on the way down, you less load total and each rep takes longer. And it's just a different kind of stimulus for your side delts. Just give it some thought. Try it. You might like it a lot. You notice I only said 3 side delt movements because I fully believe that almost everyone gets enough front delt work from pressing for chest, way enough rear delt work from back work if done properly, especially with good stretch. And then so side delts, because they're the ones that give you that pop out here, they're what you want to grow. When I hear shoulders, I hear side delts.
100%. Well, we're definitely in agreement there. I think I also had like literally like right on the verge was that, or like what I like to call the around the world dumbbell raise. So instead, like I use an incline bench, so I'm completely like almost a 90 degree. I come here, so I have already stretch, and then I come all the way up, I rotate forward, and then I come all the way over, and then as I go as slow as I can and rotate my hands down towards the floor as I get down towards the bottom, and then I get huge stretch there. So great exercise. I think we're on the same mindset wavelength here, but I want to hear your guys' opinions. What do you think? Would you pick the top 3 of mine, or would you pick the top 3 of Dr. Mike's? I'm already gonna assume I'm taking the L because Dr. Mike has a crazy fan base that's gonna probably come and kill me for something I said wrong in this video, but
folks, be nice.
Be nice.
Also, maybe people could share their own top 3 for this kind of stuff in the comments.
Yeah, no, it'd be awesome.
We know you're going to do it anyway, you
Yeah.
self-infatuated.
It's not about you.
Bad
It
names.
is about you.
It is about you.
Because we do love you guys for watching the videos, and honestly, it doesn't go unnoticed. And we really appreciate all the support you've given me and Mike throughout the years. So go ahead, put your list down below for, you can pick whichever body part you feel passionate about. Like, let's say you want to put your top 3 chest.
Cock.
Obviously. But, I mean, what are your top 3 cocks?
Exercises for a cock? Or top 3 cocks?
That's a tough one. I'd say probably, let's not get into the top 3 cocks. So
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, a lot of cancellation. Exercises for cock, 3 easy ones right away. One is you J the D with one form, but then you J the D with the other one right after. It's a superset.
Got it.
You don't stop. People who stop don't get results, and that's just dumb. Another one is you take some grippers from like Iron Mind, like the real solid grip strength, gripper training, and you go to failure with myo reps for like 80 total reps per hand at the same time. It's just toasted, and then you got to double fist your shit, and you think double fisting easy, I can generate a lot of friction. Not anymore. You can't. Can you still J the D while producing enough force and not cramping? So that everyone's a fucking expert until your forearm cramps while you're jerking off, and then what the fuck are you supposed to do? Not shit. And my last exercise is a bit different. It's just shame. Just sit there in your dark room and know that you're not good enough to have a gorgeous cock, and you never will be. And that's not okay. Thus the shame.
My favorite was actually see how much deca you can take
Into the cock.
Into the cock. Until literally it's so unerect that you can almost like not see it anymore.
That's dope. But like, it's overload, right? So if you can get remotely hard on a fucking gram of deca a week, when you switch the deca to a gram of tren plus inhalable Viagra, is that a thing? Then, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna be bussing every left and right, hose this way, chicken heads that way, skeezers over there, your boys are all in it. Child support payments. Just remember that shit exists.
This is Mike and Eric deep in prep, so
who knows what we're saying.
Don't get us canceled here, but we love you guys and we appreciate you for watching the video.
The best thing, you can go to the Olympia Expo after having come to our seminar, and because we're going to make you super smart and know all the exercise things, you can feel much better than other people that you see. So if someone's more jacked than you, they got that stringer tank with the fucking trend belts, and you maybe don't look like that at that phase of your life, you can at least look at them and be like, well, but does he know how to do Eric Janicki's special back exercises? No, he doesn't, because he's a chump. You're the fucking man. Just steal his girl. We give you full permission to do that to people as soon as you get to the seminar.
Hell yeah. All right, well, say less. Love you guys, and I will see you guys on the next video.